Let me just switch on. Okay. You're on, Stephen. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Coach on Fire, High Performance Leadership with Stephen Bryant. It is a tremendous evening here in Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada tonight. And if you're listening live or if you're listening to this recording, hope you're having a great day or great evening. I'd like to talk to you tonight a little bit about, before we start with our amazing guest, Chelsea Lee Rock, some things that I've been reading in my meditation time, my quiet time. And it's about inspiring people. Two things, actually, inspiring people and being thankful. And in leadership, you really need to inspire people. You know, if you're inspiring people to be a better person. And this came up actually at work. You know, we were talking about one particular employee being inspired by somebody else who's actually new, and it's just upping their game, so to speak. So it's always great to have that quality where you inspire people to do better, to be a better person, to want to do more things. And that's really one of those signs of leadership, that you are inspiring. And the other thing too, I'm actually reading a book right now as part of an assignment. It's called, and probably many of you have heard this, it's by Napoleon Hill. It's Think and Grow Rich. It's been a tremendous book, but one of the areas that he talks about is thankfulness and being persistent, having that attitude of that I can do attitude. Chelsea Lee Rock, we had connected a little while ago, and one of the things I really like about her, she's multi-talented. Actually, she is the owner and founder of Chelsea Lee Rock, the Confidence Queen, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. She has a voice talent that she uses, and she's also an Amazon bestseller list, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. She's been a former model at Meredith Model and Talent Agency, and just a lot of things on her resume. And one of the things as well, we wanted to give you some information how you can contact me, your host, Stephen Bryant, and as well for Chelsea. So again, my name is Stephen Bryant. This is High Performance Leadership with Stephen Bryant. You can contact me on a couple of social media platforms, and one is on my Facebook page at Stephen Bryant. The other one, I'm a freelance photographer, so you will also hear me on, or see me, I should say. You won't hear me on my Facebook page, but you'll see me and some of my photographs on Stephen Bryant Photography. You can also contact me on Instagram as PastorMan007, on Twitter, Steve Bryant 007. So again, it's great to have you here tonight, Chelsea. We're going to give a little information about you. You can find Chelsea on Facebook at Chelsea Lee Rock, and that is www.facebook.com, chelsea.fenwick.9. Twitter on Lee Rock Fitness, LinkedIn, Chelsea Lee Rock, Instagram at Chelsea Lee Rock Official. And her website is bit.ly/redeeming love. Chelsea, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. We ran into a little bit of a technical difficulty there for a moment. So
okay.
We're okay.
How are you? I'm so happy to be here.
Well, it's good to have you here. I've seen so much about you on social media. We've had a chance to talk a little bit, and I'm excited about you being on here tonight. And one of the things we want to talk about, a couple of things. One that you had mentioned is self-love starts the basis of every relationship you have. The second thing, thoughts become things. Habits take time to release and disengage. And third, which I really like, this question, are you comfortable? Again, Chelsea, you're a former fitness model who got an autoimmune disease, and after your healing of your own PTSD and emotional pain, you are now a motivational speaker an LLP life coach. So Chelsea, tell me a little bit about your story. One of the things that actually I remember watching this movie, and I think I probably saw 5 minutes of the movie, and I can't remember what the name of the movie was, but I remember a father giving a son advice, and he said, son, he said, take time to listen because everybody has a story. And I want to hear about your story tonight, Chelsea.
Oh, I love that. Well, let me just go ahead and go back from the beginning a little bit and talk about 10 years ago. I was an actress, and I had a background in fitness modeling. And I was having a great time doing that. Honestly, that's all I wanted to do with my life, was to do fitness and acting. And about 5 years ago, someone asked me something really powerful. I was struggling. I had been in a few movies. I had done a few really cool projects, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. And so I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to get farther than where I want to go. So what's my next step? And my roommate at the time told me, if in 10 years from now, if you got up and got an Academy Award, would you be happy? Would that be a success to you? And I thought about it, and I had decided that no, it wouldn't be a success to me anymore, because that's not what I wanted. So that actually changed my whole direction. And I went from living in the Hollywood Hills and acting to really looking to find myself and my identity, and how do I get where I want to go, and what's the next step. And so I was always into fitness. I was doing that. I started fitness modeling more, and I ended up going into some competitions, and then I didn't know I had this the whole time. I had PTSD the entire time, and I was just coping with it. And one time I just snapped, and I started gaining all this weight. I went through a sexual assault and molestation, and that just completely made me just snap right out of this barely just getting by kind of attitude, having fun here and there. And I just sunk down into this deep depression. So what ended up coming from that was I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, and I ended up learning how to heal my body from a completely different perspective, from personal development, from self-love, and learning how to really, really deeply love and care for myself on a level that was so different from being in the gym.
Wow. So what happened from there? A couple of things that really interest me, because you were talking about your roommate saying, the pinnacle of success would be where you were an actor is, winning the Academy Award, but you saying that, no, that wouldn't be the pinnacle of my success. So what was it that made you change that whole perspective?
That's a really great question. I think for me, the biggest thing that changed was I didn't think I thought I'd be farther along. I was 25 at the time, and I was struggling, and my roommate was 32, and we were both actors. And, the grind of doing acting is you get up early, you go to bed late, you have all kinds of weird times to do auditions. You're working 3 or 4 jobs to make ends meet. And I just wasn't happy, and I wondered why. And I realized too that part of that journey was it wasn't for anyone else, it was for myself, right? Like I loved acting, I still do. It's a part of me, but giving back and helping other people is so much more rewarding.
Well, I would agree with you, because that for my path, that was exactly what happened, because I was in a place I was working, this will really date me. I was working in retail back in the 80s in retail management. And I had accomplished all the goals really that I had set out for myself at that particular time. But at the end of the day, it wasn't really fulfilling. And so that led me down the path of going into ministry, because I wanted to help people.
Wow.
That has been my passion for a long, long time. And to hear people be successful or looking at a goal, and certainly a lot of people that are aspiring to be actors, that would be the pinnacle of success. Standing on stage in the Academy Awards presentation and having that Oscar given to you. But for you, and I think one of the things it does, it comes back to passion. What's your passion? And it seems to be, for both you and I, it is helping people.
Yes. And it's so funny you say that you went into ministry, because about a year and a half ago, someone actually came up to me and said, "Oh, you'd make a good minister." And they'd been watching my lives. I have a YouTube channel and I do stuff on Facebook all the time. And I thought, that's such an odd compliment. I'll take it. But yes, it's very much about, how do you help people? How do you see people get out of their own way? When someone comes up to you and says, "I've learned so much from the work that you're teaching me how to do," or your coaching changed my life, your book that I read. I mean, all of that's more important to me than getting on stage for myself.
Talk about a little bit about your book. I'd love to hear about that.
So I actually have a book out right now. It's a co-authored book. It's a story basically about women under 30, and it's called the 30-30 Rule, What You Learned in Your 20s. I co-authored that about a year ago, and I am currently working on a book right now called How I Became the Queen of Confidence. And that's been an exciting project. That should be out probably here in a few months, which I'm really stoked about. Wow,
that sounds great. Excellent. So the 30-30 rule, talk what, it's obvious what the premise of the book is, but talk a little bit. You talked about being a co-author of the book. Tell me a little bit about what you're writing in that book is bringing to the audience.
Oh my goodness. So it's kind of funny. I slid my way in. It was supposed to be for people who were over 30. I was 27 at the time, but I had gotten in the book because the author was just like, "I love your story. I think you'd be a great addition." So I participated in that. But the part of the book that I talk about in my story is the experiences that you have in your 20s. We're so focused on what other people think. We care so much about what our family thinks and if we're going to end up with someone. And I personally believe the 20s are for travel and adventure and finding yourself, so that you can have the best experiences later on in life. And that's what I talk about, and how I found the love of my life at 29 and went through all these experiences. But it took a while, like everyone else. Everyone's on a different journey. Everyone has a different timetable.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting it's interesting that you mentioned that, because my wife and I were talking about how back when we first got married, we first started dating in the late 70s, and then we got married, and then it was all about having children. So, 2 years into the marriage that we had our first child, and then, it was raising a family through our 20s and, into actually our 30s, because our last one was born in 92. So, but we were talking about the change, because our two youngest are looking at living a life, through their 20s without having a family, so that they can enjoy some of the things that, they wouldn't if they had a full family.
Right. And it's such a different generation. I mean, I'm a millennial too, so it's an interesting path to be on, where I think the average age now to get married is between 29 and 32 or something, which I know is a huge difference from your generation, or something that people have experienced in the past.
No, that's definitely true. You talk about some things. You talk about self-love and a mindset, and how to heal the pain, get the power and the purpose. One of the things that in the work that I do in the nonprofit, we talk a lot about self-care and self-love. And I'd like to hear from you the importance of that self-love and having that mindset of self-love.
Oh, I love this question. I think self-love, if you understand what that really means, and you go deep into how do you love yourself, it's how you love everyone else. Because how you view situations and the emotions around you often has to do with your own. It's kind of like the principle of change your thoughts and you change the environment around you. everyone's looking to change the environment outside of them.